The only difference between a complete LARP and a genuine character transformation is literally just the length of time that you commit to it. So yeah, like pick a LARP and commit. Like that's the title for today. And I genuinely think that our problem isn't that we're lost or that we're LARPing in the first place, but the problem is that we're choosing a LARP but then switching like characters, or we're switching categories every 2 weeks. And I don't know, this has certainly happened to me. Like that's why I'm making this video. I've been through so many what I thought to myself as like a personal rebrand. And this is like 1 week you're like monk mode, then next week you're like mysterious and artsy, and it comes with like certain music and fashion, and then you see like one of these gym like grindset things where it's like the winter gym arc, and then you're like the gym demon, and then you're suddenly off grid. You start like reposting stuff about like buying a farm, then suddenly you're the Bitcoin like finance bro. Like there's just so many, like there's more examples than I could name here, but there's so many LARPs. And again, like I don't think any of these individually is the problem. Like it's not the problem that you see these inspirational things and that you're like, okay, I want to be that, I want to LARP that. But the problem is that you're kind of rebranding so often, and every 2 weeks you completely change it to something that isn't compatible with your previous idea. And like this is where some of my previous videos come in. Like I was speaking about LARPing through the perspective of Irving Goffman. And I don't want to repeat those videos, just basically Irving Goffman, the sociologist, to make it super short. He said that everyday life is always like a performative element, and it doesn't mean you're fake, but it just means you manage how you appear in certain situations, and that there's like a natural role we play, and that there isn't, even though like some parts of you are definitely stable, a lot of what personality is just repeated behavior. And you can really see this by like, I mean, consider how you acted the last conversation with your parents versus on a first date versus with your childhood friends versus in a job interview, right? Like that doesn't mean you were a liar in any of these situations. It just means that it's obvious that the way you act is to a certain degree contingent on your environment. And again, like I've spoken in the previous videos about how in the beginning it feels fake when you act in a new way, and you notice this performative element of personality even more than kind of in everyday life, even though you do perform to a certain degree even when you aren't changing. So I think the problem isn't that you want to reinvent yourself, that you want to LARP something, that you want to kind of start something new, but the problem is that you're doing it too often. The problem is you aren't committing to it. And by doing that, you're there for like the first awkwardness of it, but you aren't sticking around long enough for that LARP to really stick. And again, like there's so many examples, right? Like one is people see so much content nowadays, and one could be like, oh, you act all mysterious and like you don't post anymore, you go completely dark, and you live this quote unquote monk mode, but then even though you act like you're kind of performing this character, you're really isolating yourself. Versus you can like LARP being a social butterfly, and you text first and you invite people, and suddenly you just spend a lot of time with people you're not even that close with. But then you quit that before it really becomes a habit, or before it becomes easier to you. And all of these things are like good on their own, but you need to stick with it. So yeah, I mean, you can't become a gym bro for a week, right? Like you order the Gymshark clothes. Like I've been there. I've been through so many of these. Like I've kind of been inspired to become a gym bro, and I've been inspired by making art, by being more creative. But what it really was is just seeing like a Pinterest board of an artist, or I've wanted to become more social. But in many ways, if you don't really act like it for a long period of time, it's just like a fantasy. And so yeah, it's really difficult to commit to these things. And the difficulty is that the beginning of these LARPs can feel really good, right? Like the start of this rebrand phase is basically like drugs. Like you're so optimistic, you just saw all these, I don't know, Pinterest, or you saw all these inspirational content things, but then eventually it automatically becomes more boring, right? Like there's an awkwardness, there's a period where you notice that you really aren't good at this yet, and you just kind of need to like do reps of that personality. So yeah, the key to this, what I want to keep coming back to, and kind of what the main message of this video is is that the LARP becomes real when there's enough evidence. And this evidence takes time. So you really need to commit to things for longer. And like, don't beat yourself up over kind of having new ideas, over having a lot of new impulses to try things. Like, I get it. I've been there, and I've had so many kind of sources of inspiration where I suddenly want to like rebrand myself. Like, that's a good thing. Don't beat yourself up for that. But try to stick with these things for longer, because eventually it does work. And for example, you can't like become a gym bro without actually doing it for enough time to see changes in your physique. Or you can't become a creator without making things and sticking around for like the boring parts of creating something and of being creative. And you can't become like socially super confident without having like really, really awkward conversations. So I really think that the key here is just to keep doing it. And the problem here is that like we want to feel like the person first, right? Like first we want to have the feeling that we are already there, and then we think that we'll just naturally act like that. But the problem here is that most of the time it's just the other way around. Like first you try to act like them. In the beginning it's maybe weird. In the beginning you don't have discipline. In the beginning it just feels unnatural to you. But eventually after these reps, quote unquote, and like think about it in the gym sense, right? And like your LARP can have nothing to do with gym or sports or whatever, but just think about it like reps in the gym. Eventually it becomes natural. Eventually it becomes easier, and then you're not actually acting. And this is like what I said in the beginning. The difference between LARPing and actually transforming, like in a positive way, becoming the person you want, is literally just the amount of time you stick with it. Because the beginning is always going to be bad, no matter what the LARP is. And also like don't think that you chose the wrong thing or that the goal is bad just because the beginning feels weird. Like just because it feels weird reading your first book in years doesn't mean that reading is bad, or doesn't mean that you just inherently are not a person that should read. So yeah, be inspired. Like watch the content, watch the Pinterest boards, stick to like being mysterious, stick to being a social butterfly, stick to going completely offline, but like do it for long enough. And this is where you need to like kind of put in more work on actually picking your LARP. And like this is its own thing. I kind of let me know if I should make a whole video of like how to pick a LARP, because I think it starts off, and I've been thinking about this more, but you need to ask yourself a few questions, like which version of me could I respect, or would I respect more? And it's also about which kind of version of you, or which sort of personality aspect is consistent and is good for the people around you. Because like I get that it can be like cool, it can seem cool to just completely cut off other people or become completely unavailable, but it can go to a point where you genuinely like damage friendships. And I think that that's just the thing you really need to spend time on. So let me know if I should do a video like how to pick the LARP, maybe what are like good things, what are kind of qualifiers where you should probably say, hey, I shouldn't do that. And yeah, like in the future, just consciously think about it, right? Like what content I watched left me really inspired to kind of change who I am to LARP, and then just stick with that. Like try to have like a practical framework. But I mean, it depends. Like people, when you read these books about habits, people say it takes 90 days to build a habit or 60 days. And like either of those might be true. If you're asking me, just give it at least 30 days and stick with it consistently, and don't like do the opposite of that, and don't feed yourself with content or inspiration of the opposite of what you're doing, right? So yeah, just stick with it. Again, remember, everyone's LARPing. I do have these couple other videos on my channel where I sort of speak about the idea of LARPing. Looking back, those aren't really that good, but yeah, more stuff coming soon. This is still a pretty new YouTube channel, so if you watched until here, I'm super grateful. Leave a like, leave a comment, and hopefully catch you guys soon. Goodbye.